my name is Daniel Apama, and I went on mission trips to Mississippi, to Joplin, Missouri, to India, and Nepal. For when I went to Mississippi and when I went to Joplin, what we were doing was relief efforts in Mississippi, Katrina, and there were a lot of homes still that were destroyed and that needed to be rebuilt and fixed up. And then in Joplin, the same sort of thing from the tornado that happened. And so while I was there, we had built in Joplin a whole new house for someone, or helped build it in the 2 weeks. And then in Mississippi, we worked on different houses and also churches and different places in the area as well. For when I went to India and Nepal, I did the Share Him sermons series, and we spent about 3 weeks there doing evangelism in the islands in India and over in the Huas Valley region of Nepal. Because one, I got to go out and see a place I'd never seen. Two, because I got to help out and just kind of experience something that otherwise I don't think I really would have. For the relief efforts in the States, those were really cool because one, I learned skills. Two, I was able to see the impact of not only the disaster, but also all the people that came to support and help. There were so many different crews, so many different people from all over that had come to help out these towns all over the place, and especially with Joplin, since it's just in the middle of Missouri, and how much everyone was rallying together to help out and rebuild for all the people that had lost their homes and things like that. For Nepal and for India, those were memorable because one, of course, I went overseas, but more importantly, I got to see people in a different light, see people in a different circumstance, and also just obviously a totally different country and area than what I was used to. My site had some pretty stiff opposition in the village. At first, I had thought that so many people were interested. There were always more and more people coming each night, but I faced different challenges as we went along. The first one was when I started my meetings. The first week, we had been projecting the slides of the sermons on one of their Hindu temples or something, which I hadn't really known. No one really mentioned it to me. But after a couple days, some of the village leaders had said, "Hey, you can't do that here. You've got to go." And I was really confused. I had no idea what I was going to do. I've never been anywhere near that place, so I didn't know where we were going to go. But one of the village elders, one of them, he actually volunteered that we do the sermons at his house, right at his place. And so that's where we started doing them. And I saw that as a really great blessing. But as we kept going through the weeks, there were more and more people coming, there were more and more kids coming. I was super excited. But then near the end when we came for baptisms, I saw that there wasn't anyone from my site that had actually volunteered for baptism, or at least come up during the day when we had done it. The reason it stuck out to me most was because when I had gone to India 2 years before, I had a kind of opposite experience, where people in general liked the meetings and stuff. There weren't necessarily as many children or anything, but people seemed to me like they weren't as receptive. But when it came down to it, at the end of our time there were people from my site that I hadn't even realized had said, "Yes, I want to be baptized." And for me, it made me think a lot about just the influence and kind of the situation and how everything was going. But even more so, it made me think and realize that even though I didn't see an immediate result, that God was still working. And I could see that through everyone else's sites that had gotten baptisms, even if they got one or two. I think collectively from all the sites we had 9 baptisms in Nepal. But there were so many other amazing miracles and great things that happened that showed that even though it didn't seem like we were doing too much in our time in Nepal as compared to when I had gone to India, I could still see the great influence that was going on in the whole area. In a way, it's made me just kind of realize have a larger perspective. I guess that's what it would have been. I don't really think too often in terms of this specific thing really changed my life in this way, but I do know that especially with Nepal and India, I know that I was in such a different situation, in a different area. There was nothing at all like being in America, to the point that I had to learn something new, and I had to kind of view life through a new lens. And that especially, I think, helped me realize that, especially whenever I'm going and I'm trying to do some form of mission work, regardless of what it is, if it doesn't seem like people are receptive, that maybe I was just there to start cracking at their shell, as opposed to actually make something happen. And it's helped me be able to, in turn, take that into just my everyday life and be able to be a little more patient, be a little more okay with things not going exactly how I think they're gonna go immediately. And being able to have faith that things will work out regardless of what I do or don't have control over. I've seen that God's led me into a position of, I would say, guidance, maybe. But as I've been going through, especially since I just finished at Union now too, I've seen him kind of direct me in a path of being a teacher of some form. And I think to some degree that my experiences, especially in like Nepal and India, actually all over really, throughout those various mission trips, I've seen that kind of leading mindset kind of come out of me, that kind of leader position, but teacher even. And especially in being the one to teach those people about concepts that, to be honest, I didn't always really fully understand then. But being able to say, you know what, this is what needs to be done. I mean, I'm the only one here to do it, I might as well. I think that is something that he's leading me towards. And as I've continued to progress through the various different other things I've done that aren't even necessarily mission related, I've seen that he's led me into kind of a role of teaching and guidance. And I think it's kind of cool because it gives me the opportunity to show his love and his light, just himself, through my example. Because I always love the idea of leading by example. Sometimes I take that a little too far and start doing things just because I want to really show how much they've affected me and how they really can work. And I think that same mindset came from saying, hey, I have this, that I am the representative of Jesus here in your country, in your town, right here. I am his representative, I am his reflection. So in order for me to do that, I gotta show you what it's about. And in the same way, I kind of take that same mindset into my regular life and doing whatever else I am, whether it be working at the Y, working wherever else I'm working, teaching music, whatever. I take that same mindset with me and just present myself in a way that can show God. And then that way, when I say, hey, have you ever thought about this? People are like, oh, okay, well, I kind of see that in you already. Definitely thank you for helping me to find a new way to learn, to find a way to challenge myself, challenge my faith, and to be able to, on top of that, show others Jesus and be able to show others how important he is, and just how much he affects like everything around us. There aren't many reasons that people will just go to another country or go out of town, out of state to just do stuff. And I think especially on the bigger scale of leaving your own country, going somewhere else where you don't know how to speak their language at all, can have no idea how anything works, and just say, you know what, I'm going, I have a message. Like I wouldn't do that with a letter. I wouldn't say, hey, here you go. Like it's not the same sort of a thing. And it's a very big deal, not only to like the people that are going, not only to the missionaries themselves, but I would say almost even more so to the people that they're encountering, because one, they've probably never heard of it before. Two, they then get the opportunity to become missionaries themselves. And that's truly how the gospel is spread. Not necessarily through one person, but through the effects on the others' lives that they touched. That's what spreads. It's the ripple. It's not that one person, because they can only do so much, but it's their connections from that move on. And so I think that it's very important if you can help and support, and if you have, that is fantastic, because no matter what, the gospel is being spread, and it's a very important message. I would say, one, do it, but also, if you do it, be prepared to not have a clue what's going on at all, entirely, because it'll happen. I mean, I space out a lot and like just kind of go with the flow. So it kind of works out for me, because I'm just like, oh, well, I didn't know anyways. But even for people that do know what's up and do kind of know what's going on, they eventually start to realize that they don't know. Like, there's some things you can plan for, some things you can be prepared for. But on all 4 trips that I went on, something surprising happened. And not only just for me, but even for our whole group, or even for people that we didn't even know about. Something always happens that you didn't really plan on or weren't even ready for, whether it be good or bad. So just always be prepared and just be ready to kind of go with the flow, because it's gonna come. But then also, I would say, if you're considering it and you don't know and you don't really think that it's something for you to do, if you don't want to go on like a big scale mission trip or anything like that, you can still go and be a missionary in a smaller space. You don't have to travel thousands of miles away just to say, hey, I just did a mission trip. You don't even have to go out of state, out of city. There's various things for you to do that you can always say, hey, this is how I'm gonna show Jesus. And that's the important part of the missions. It's not so much where you go at all, even. It's important that you're just spreading the gospel, whether it be through your actions, through your words, through whatever means. That's the real important part. So you can do that anywhere and really however. And it's not even that difficult. But if you have the opportunity to go overseas, go out of state, go wherever, try it. At least once at some point. Even if it's not immediate, see if you can find an opportunity to do it sometime. And if you think that traveling's not for you, try and find some way to help, because it'll be not only life-changing for you, but for the people that you impact. They'll be able to see a new light, and they'll be able to say, hey, you know what, someone does care, first of all. And 2, you know what, I never thought of life that way. Life has a greater meaning, even now, even more than I thought it ever did.